in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Continuing our series on creating virtual tours, we now move on to editing the photos we've taken. Well, in previous sessions, we learned what equipment we need and how we can take 360-degree panoramic photos. And now today, we want to work a bit on the photos we've taken so that they look better and we can use them in virtual tours or in specialized virtual tour software, and with their help, create a beautiful virtual tour. This is a photo I took of a historical site. As you can see, due to the strong light and the position from which I took the photo, I need to edit this picture a bit. Some parts need to be removed, because I wanted to take the photo from a higher elevation. I mounted the camera on a tripod and lifted the tripod with my hand so the photo would be taken from a higher angle. So, I need to use special software to remove my own image that appears at the bottom, as well as my shadow. First, we'll start by editing the photo and adjusting its contrast, brightness, and also saturating some colors to make my photo look more beautiful. For this purpose, I use Adobe Bridge software. I've installed the 2020 version of Adobe Bridge. You can install and use either a higher or lower version depending on your needs and your computer's processing power. After you've installed this software, you can go to the address bar here and find the folder where you've saved your photos. Open it up and display the photos inside. You'll see that once I find my folder, everything inside that folder will be shown to me here. Now, in my folder, there's only one photo, as you can see. An important point just came to my mind, and God willing, I'll emphasize it again later when we're creating the virtual tour. But I need to mention it here. Friends, try to create a main folder when you're making a virtual tour, so you can put all your files inside that folder. Based on the local name for which you want to create the virtual tour, make a folder with that same name, and inside that folder, you should create different subfolders so you can organize the photos you take and your other information. Keep everything inside that folder. So, try to choose names for your folders that include numbering. 01, 02, 03, or whatever numbering format you prefer, so that everything stays organized. That way, it'll be easier and faster to find your files in there later. Secondly, virtual tour creation software is sensitive to folder names. What I mean is, when you import a photo from a folder into the virtual tour software, if you later change the name of that folder after creating the tour, the software won't be able to find that photo anymore. That's because the software reads and pulls the file directly from its original source, and does all the design work on that file. So, you should try to have a consistent method and routine for naming your folders. Choose the folder names carefully, and keep the folder names the same until the end of your work. Alright, let's continue the discussion. Now, moving on, we want to edit the photo we've taken. Pay attention here. When you click on the photo, a series of options in the top toolbar will become active for you. If the HDR on your camera is enabled, as I mentioned earlier when I explained the camera settings, a dynamic photo will be taken. That means, with different brightness levels, multiple layers of the photo are captured, and you can later edit this photo using these software tools. Alright, after you've selected the photo, we move on to this section. Open in Camera Raw. Basically, you can open the raw file of the photo you took in this section. Now we've entered the raw files section of that photo, and as I mentioned, this is the dynamic photo that was created thanks to the HDR button being enabled on the camera. Now you can use this feature to edit your photo. There are various options here, and by adjusting them, you can create a better photo and export it. First, let's start with exposure. In this way, you can either enter a number in this rectangular box or use the slider to adjust the brightness of your image. I'm going to lower the brightness a bit, because my photo was already bright enough. Now, I'll manually enter -1 here. I'm going to increase the contrast a bit. I'll enter a value of +5. Look at the highlights. The more you increase the highlights, the brighter areas become more prominent, and the more you decrease them, the more they get separated. Basically, those layers, pay attention, the light and dark layers become more distinct from each other. So, I'm going to decrease the highlights a bit, because I don't want that much separation, and I also don't want my sky to be too bright. I'll lower the shadows. Sorry, I mean I'll increase them. Basically, I'm increasing the brightness of the shadows so that the parts of my image that are in shadow become clearer. Notice that if I decrease it, the shadows get darker. So, I increase the shadows so that the areas with and without shadow become almost the same, and the image clarity improves. In the same way, you can make the whites appear whiter using this option. You can also make the blacks look blacker. You can adjust the background of your photo or texture. Actually, if I increase it, my texture appears clearer. But if I zoom in, you'll notice the image gets a bit pixelated in this area, as you can see. And if I decrease the texture, this part looks a bit smoother and softer. So I prefer to keep the texture at its default value of 0. Clarity works the same way. If you increase it, you'll get a sharper photo. But again, your image will become pixelated like this. I'll set clarity to a +10, and similarly, if you increase the dehaze option, let me zoom out. This way, your image will get darker, and if we decrease it, my image will get brighter like this, so I usually set this to 0. Vibrance and saturation. Usually, we increase these two options in our photos to get more color saturation and make the image look more appealing. As you can see, if you increase it too much, the leaves of the tree, and generally your image, will become more yellowish and look a bit unnatural. So I don't increase it too much, just enough to keep it visually appealing and at a normal level. Alright, now I'm leaving the basic section, and the next adjustment I want to make is in the color mix. You can make more adjustments based on your own preferences. I'm just covering what's essential, because you really can't spend too much time on these panoramas. Otherwise, your costs will go up and you'll have to dedicate more time to them. So you'll have to charge the client more, and your work might not end up being cost-effective. That's why I'm only presenting the useful options to you and skipping over the other details. Now, in this section, you can also adjust your color combinations. For example, the color green is usually more important when we're photographing nature. We increase the green tone a little bit, and as you can see, if I turn the green up too much, it starts to look unnatural. So I just increase it a little to make it look better. In the same way, if you have an area that's turned yellow and you don't want that yellow, like, for example, there's a tree whose leaves have turned yellow. Or there's a patch of grass that's turned yellow, like this part here, and you want the yellow to shift more towards green. You can use this option to shift yellow towards green, so all the areas that were yellow will turn green for you. Or, if it's autumn and you want those green leaves to look yellow like the rest of the leaves, you can decrease the green section towards yellow, and similarly, reduce the yellow as well. It's a matter of personal preference. I'll set it here, and visually, it's pretty much good now and has the beauty I want. I tap the Done option, and my photo is ready. Now I need to be able to export this photo, to save it in the folder I want. In this section, we have an option called My Export. I actually created this myself. You can tap the Create New option and make another export option for yourself. This way, you can give it a name and choose the folder where your exported photo will be saved. So here I'll write My New Export and then select the folder where I want to save my export. You can use the same main folder where you're already saving your files. Or you can assign a different folder to it. Personally, I prefer to assign a new folder to it each time. From here, I'll create a new folder and name it Edited. Edited Panoramas, and I'll select this folder. Alright, I'll close the saving options. Of course, JPEG is the best format we can use for the photo. I'll set the quality to maximum. I don't want the output photo quality to be reduced here. The size should be 100%, and I won't touch anything else. I want it to be just like the original. And another important option is metadata. Look, when a panorama photo is taken by a 360-degree camera, some extra information gets recorded on the photo, like the time the photo was taken, the date it was shot, the location or place where the photo was taken. Because most cameras have GPS, or by connecting to a mobile phone, which basically establishes a connection between the phone and the camera, they use the phone's location and record their own position on the photo. Also, 360-degree cameras usually have a gyroscope, and if we don't level the tripod properly on the ground and the panorama photo is taken with a tilted base, the photo of that area will come out crooked. The device's internal gyroscope records the amount of tilt or how much it's slanted, and when we want to import the photo into Virtual Tour software, the software itself uses the existing metadata to correct the photo. But of course, all of this means that the photo file size increases, because all that information has to be stored in the memory space of the photo. So the photo size goes up, and we don't want our photos to be too large, since usually in virtual tours we have a lot of photos, and we're supposed to upload these photos to the internet. So, the larger our photo files are, the more we'll experience system slowdowns, and the virtual tour itself will run slower in the future. We try, wherever possible, to reduce the size or file size of our photos while maintaining their quality. So here, I'm going to uncheck the metadata option. Why am I unchecking it? First, because I don't need the location data. I already know where I took the photos. Second, I don't need the date, time, or other information recorded on the photo, like gyroscope data and so on. That's because I made sure to level the tripod properly and took the photo correctly. So I uncheck this box and close this option as well. Now I'll save this. If you look here, I've created this, my new export. I right-click on this new photo I just made. Export to my new export. When I click this, my photo gets exported. If I open Panorama, this is my photo after editing, and this one is the photo before editing. You can see the difference. Let's view both photos side by side. Like this. Now you can easily compare the difference between these two. Alright, that wraps up our discussion on using Adobe Bridge. Next, we want to talk about how we can remove the parts we want from the photo.